Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our ordinary council meeting for tonight, the 17th of February 2025 here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall. I declare our meeting open tonight at 7 p.m. On behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land to which we meet tonight, and I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Item 2 on the agenda is a prayer. We normally have a prayer to conduct during our meeting. However, Father Ty couldn't be with us tonight from the Catholic Church. We will move on. Our disclaimer reading this evening. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. In attendance tonight, we have the Deputy Mayor. Good evening to you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bodica, hello to you. Councillor Winner, good evening. Hello there, Councillor Johnson. Greetings, Councillor O'Donnell. Hello, Councillor Turner and Councillor Viskovich. Welcome along tonight. Our CEO is with us tonight, Andrew Bryan. Our Director of Advocacy and Strategy is Mia Hicks. Our Director of Engineering is Louis Camporelli. Cass Yeager is our Director of Corporate and Commercial here with us tonight. Francis Liston, our Executive Manager of Governance and Risk Services. We also have Pia Timu, who is our Head of Marketing. Jamie Boys, our Governance Officer, and in our ICT Risk and Compliance role, we have Matthew, who's here tonight as well. We do have an apology from Zandra this evening, our Executive Manager of Finance, who couldn't make it. Yes. Sorry, can you just turn your microphone on, Councillor Bodica?
There's also an apology from Councillor Brownlee, who just texted to say that his flight got cancelled in Perth.
I've got that right next to my agenda, thank you. Councillor Brownlee is an apology. There is no leave of absence. There is no response to previous public questions taken on notice. We have no public access tonight. However, we do have public questions. I will state the first one as it was provided in writing to Council. This one comes from Simone Pickering, a resident of South Kalgoorlie, who asked the following questions. Question 1. In January, the City spent $36,662 on recruitment services. What percentage of that was awarded to Kalgoorlie-Boulder-owned recruitment agencies? Item 2. In November 2024, the City paid $605 to Step Within Solutions for a service previously pitched by a local provider. Before awarding this work, how many Kalgoorlie-Boulder-owned businesses were consulted for an equal service? And item 3, given the local government play a key role in supporting the local economy, particularly in the regions, can you explain why the City frequently engages in city-based HR and recruitment suppliers instead of prioritising local businesses? We will take those and provide a response to Ms Pickering. We also have two other questions this evening from two lots of questions from two different residents. Amy Broughton is a resident of Broadwood and has some questions. Amy, if you'd like to come to the podium to read those questions for us this evening. Just get you to make sure that your microphone is on. There we
Hello.
go. Lovely. Just get you to state your name and also the suburb, and then follow on with two questions?
2 questions.
2 questions. Go ahead.
My name is Amy Broughton and I'm a resident of Broadwood. My first question, have the council been made aware that MT dance classes held at the Goldfields Arts Centre are often relocated and or rescheduled? We are frequently notified of movements from studio or ensemble room into function room or onto the stage, or combining classes together, as well as cancelled classes for other hirers such as diggers and dealers, WA ballet and so on. Sometimes we have advance warning of these other hires and other times it is on the day.
Thank you. We will respond to that one in writing to you. Thank you.
And my second question, in this City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's Community Strategic Plan, it refers to supporting families and youth by providing public spaces that facilitate a diverse range of activities and strengthening social bonds within the community. For my own family and many others, this is something MT Dance provides, along with so many other opportunities and life skills that go beyond a 45-minute dance class. MT Dance is not a commercial business to us, it is a community sport, and by treating it like a commercial business, it makes it unattainable for Kalgoorlie families.
Thank you, Ms. Broughton. We'll take those questions and provide those to you. Belinda Mitchell also has some details for us this evening, some questions I should say, not details. Thanks, Belinda. Also, just state your name just for the record as well, and also the subject.
Yep, Belinda Mitchell from Broadwood as well, and I'll just start by noting that I am one of the co-directors at MT Dance. Firstly, at the agenda briefing, it was suggested that the proposal timeline for the fee waiver be extended until January 1st, 2026, as our business runs on a calendar year. And if the charges go ahead as proposed in the amended agenda, come July, we will then be faced with a 257% increase to our fees, which will absolutely see the end of our studio. So just hoping that might end up in the discussion tonight.
Thank you.
The King Street Art Centre in Perth it's in the heart of the city, and it's home to beautifully maintained studios similar to what we have here. It's hired out at $22 per hour, which is 190% less per hour than what the Goldfields Art Centre is currently hiring. This building is owned by the Perth Theatre Trust, as is the Goldfields Art Centre. So just wondering why the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder are keeping why they're not keeping their charges in line with this at the very least.
Thank you.
We were explicitly told in our dealings with the city that the city is no longer offering MOUs, which is why they've put us on a commercial lease. However, we have been informed by many groups that they are currently on MOUs with the city. Can you please explain the change to this rule and the eligibility of an MOU, as this commercial lease agreement would potentially no longer be relevant then for our hire, and potentially we could be placed back on an MOU.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. We'll take those and provide a written response to you as well. No further questions tonight. No, Mr. CEO? No, thank you. Item 7, petitions, deputations and presentations. There are nil. Notations of interest. Councillors, is there any other further interests that need to be given this evening? No. I do have 2 to read out here, Councillor Viskovich. Sorry. I probably should have asked the question after I read those out. That might have been a bit better. I have an impartiality interest in item 15.4.2, the 2025 Red Dust Revival sponsorship. I've completed volunteering with Variety in the last 12 months. No other further interests affecting impartiality, councillors? No. Financial interests under item 15.4.9. Councillor Viskovich has a financial interest in this item because the Director of Westralia Homes is a client. Was that the answer to your question? Yep, thank you. No further financial interests, councillors? Nope, thank you. There are no proximity interests this evening. I have a leave of absence this evening for Deputy Mayor, who's requesting a leave of absence from the 21st of February to the 28th of February, and also from the 31st of March to the 7th of April in 2025. The reason is purely leave. Excellent. Councillors, do I have a mover to accept those? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconded, Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? No, thank you. Councillor Turner? No. Any dissent, councillors? Carried 8-0. Item 9.2, procedural motion to suspend section 9.1 of the standing orders of the local law 2013. Councillors, do you wish to sit down basically for the rest of the evening when you wish to speak? Councillors, do I have a mover for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconded, Councillor Bodica. Do you wish to speak? No, wish to speak. Thank you. Councillor Viskovich and Councillor Bodica. Any dissent, councillors? No. Carried 8-0. That you are all permitted to sit down when in discussion this evening. Councillors, item 10, announcements by the person presiding without discussion. Just confirming that this was sent to councillors this afternoon. Was the mayoral announcement sent out? Yes? In Docs on Tap? Okay, thank you. Just go over a little bit of that because it was an extremely busy month, councillors. We had obviously a few announcements coming out with the state election, several briefings and meetings regarding the KBRC water matters. We were involved in the incident support group for the heat wave, which can I thank our staff who went above and beyond. We opened up the library and also the community centre for extra hours to provide some relief. We had icy poles and cold water at the Oasis as well for many people. We had our citizenship ceremony, which was a lovely morning at Centennial Park before the heat came in, and then we unveiled the Walk of Fame plaques, and congratulations to Ron Urovich, to Edgar Winner and also to Ian Burston, who have been unveiled into our Walk of Fame. We continued with the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Working Group. We had senator visits. We had the opening of the basketball stadium. What a great stadium. Can't wait to see the Giants in there a little later on this year, and we can really show off our stadium outside of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. I know that it's being used for the domestic competition at the moment. We met with the Police Minister. We met with the Water Minister, obviously two very key issues within our city at the moment. We also had a delegation over to Canberra, and further information will be provided to you on that via various updates. However, we managed to meet with Peter Dutton, the Leader of the Opposition, and also Senator Susan McDonald. Most of those meetings were around the Australian Mining Cities Alliance and also around the Regional Capital Alliance. And can I say, every single meeting that we went to, we managed to spruik Kalgoorlie-Boulder with our regional partnerships that we'll look at this evening, so I'll give some more credit to that a little later on. And also, just another matter that was that received some good attention while we're in Canberra is FBT tax exemptions for mining cities. This is something that will benefit our local communities and those in mining areas. It's something that the mining cities will now be pursuing, and that is to ensure that those mining communities are not paying a full amount of FBT, in fact 100% discount on FBT in those areas, to encourage people to live and work in the same area that they are taking the resources out with. Several good key meetings there. Happy to brief you up on those individually if you feel the need. Also, we met with the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project Japanese dignitaries last week as well, and an internal city marketplace which has been conducted. Can I thank the staff, the enthusiasm and the energy that was at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall last Friday. I know everyone was probably excited for Valentine's Day, but it was also a great day to get the staff together, and our marketplace that we held, I can't wait to see that for the community, really showcasing the effort and the energy that our staff have for our organisation. Councillors, that's the meeting summary for the last, month. Item 11, the minutes of the ordinary meeting for the 20th of January be confirmed as a true record for that meeting. Do I have a mover for accepting the last minutes on the 20th of January? Moved Councillor Johnson, seconded Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Johnson, you wish to speak? No. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? No. No dissent, councillors. Carried 8-0 that we will accept those minutes. Item 12, no motions of which previous notice have been given. Item 13 is urgent business approved by the person presiding or by decision. Councillors, we had some late items that have come into your agenda for tonight. We'll start that off with what is now 13.1 and 13.11. The award of tender 003-2425 Airport Security Screening Services. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation as presented for 13.11. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Seconded, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? No. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Go ahead, Councillor O'Donnell. Microphone. You can ask a question. I'll consider your question. Microphone, please, Councillor.
Right. In the tender it says 1.5 million. Is that the correct amount?
Oh, good question. Very diligent from our staff, Mr. CEO. We'll hand it over to the Director of Corporate and Commercial to provide that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. That's the amount that we have in the budget for airport security screening services as a total amount that would be available currently.
Supplementary.
Follow-up question, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. The tender that won the award,
They haven't won it yet.
oh, apologies, tender A had a pricing of 14.19% compared to tender C 29%. Am I reading it correct that tender A was like twice as cheap as tender C's?
We'll just refer to documentation, Councillor O'Donnell.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that is correct.
The item, that's why I didn't have it.
That's fine. Happy to allow questions. Any dissent, councillors? No dissent. I'll carry that 8-0. Item 13.2 is under development and growth, and 13.2.1 is the 2025 Kalgoorlie-Boulder Fair Society sponsorship request. We have an officer recommendation. Councillors, do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Turner. Seconder? Councillor Winner. Councillor Turner, you wish to speak?
Just before I speak to it, can I just ask a question? You said that the item number was 13.2.1?
That's in my run sheet, yes. Not as in your late item may list it as something else.
Yeah, it does. It lists
But
it
tonight
different.
it's 13.2.
So we need to adjust our run sheet. That's okay. It just lists a different item number, which made me a bit confused. Okay, so I will. I've moved the motion to support this application, bearing in mind, having read the officer's reports, that it doesn't quite. Well, in several aspects, it doesn't apply with our policy in regards to sponsorship. However, our officers have correctly identified that the community fair is a very important event for our city, and given that it's so close, I suppose, to the fair, that we and the Fair Society has been very accommodating in that they've dealt very well with the council in moving the event to another venue. I can only support it because I don't want to see the city as I don't want to see us that we stop these events because our assistance isn't supporting them. It's such a special and important event that I think that perhaps this highlights that some of our community groups require assistance with a bit more assistance and education with this to make them more compliant, and perhaps we need to have a look at some of our policies to see if some of them are perhaps not working for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. While I'll be speaking in support of this motion tonight, I do have to say I'm absolutely torn on this item, as while I am and I remain a big supporter about having a community fair, I truly don't believe this application meets the city sponsorship or community assistance scheme policy or guideline rules, even with the rules being relaxed and the application being very generously nursed and assessed by our officers. I know we as a council want to be supportive of everything we can, but given the amount of grey areas that I feel is being applied to this application and the high amount of relaxation of standards, I don't think it is fair to our other applicants which may have been unsuccessful and held to standards which this application is not being held to. I just don't feel it's fair. I appreciate the emotional attachment around this matter and the fair in general, but there needs to be a better way forward than what we are currently doing. I don't think this application is a strong application, and based on the assessment of officers, I don't feel it should have came to council. However, I do understand, due to the public sensitivity around the fair as a whole, why it is here. I think it's important to remember council's budget is not infinite. To give something to one hand, we need to take something from the other. And while I appreciate the cost of living pressures being felt by groups and events and the drying up of other funding avenues, I have not seen so many sponsorship applications in my entire time as council as I have this financial year. Last-minute applications for support which leave no time to reconsider or explore further without compromising the event are not okay and not good business practice. I feel that I am stuck between a rock and a hard place in that we want to support this application based on emotion, but we shouldn't based on what is actually presented to us and in business sense. Given concerns around the fair have been around for at least the last 4 to 5 years now, I still don't understand why we, as a community and as a council are still in this position here today, that there is still no clear way forward and we are being forced in positions to make last-minute decisions to support activities such as this and break away from our own community policies, guidelines and standards to be at the same place we have been for some time now. Again, while I'll be supporting this, as I feel it is too valuable for our community to lose, and when it is gone, I truly think we wouldn't get the fare back. I remain torn morally. I do hope we can get some greater clarity moving forward and soon on the sustainability of events such as this in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, just echoing probably some pieces there that you've picked up, Councillor Winner, that this application is not compliant. And notwithstanding that, as highlighted by Councillor Turner as well, our policy and guidelines documents are probably not fit for their current purpose. Both are being reviewed and will be brought back to Council at the next Strategic and General Purpose Committee meeting in the future to readjust. Bless you. You're good? Yeah, no worries. Mover has a right of reply. Sorry, I forgot where I was then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in closing, I would like to say that details are in the agenda for how the officers have come to this conclusion, and it's quite detailed. I would urge members of the public, rather than responding to commentary they may see on social media, to perhaps read the agenda and see they might get a bit of a timeline here. And I'd also like to highlight that whilst it's a lower amount that we're giving to the Fair Society than what they asked for, their initial application was for an amount of $80,000, which far exceeds our policy, and which our policy is that we cannot sponsor events for more than 50% of what the event will be. So before people in the community get carried away that we're not giving them as much as they asked for, please take notice that this is ratepayers' money that we are giving out. It's not our personal money, it's ratepayers' money. So our policy clearly states that an application should not be more than 50% of what the event will be.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. And no dissent to that, councillors? Carried 8-0. Reports of committees. 14.1.1, the Strategic and General Purpose Committee meetings from the 29th of January, including all of the commercial business reports for the quarter ending 31 December 2024, is the officer recommendation. Do I have an officer recommendation to support? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Seconder, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? No. Councillor Viskovich? No. No discussion, councillors? No. Carried 8-0. Item 14.1.2, corporate performance reporting. Another very valuable document for us, I think, councillors, moving forward as this starts to be populated. Councillors, do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconded, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Councillor Viskovich? No. Any discussion, councillors? No. No dissent. I'll carry that 8-0. Councillors, reports of officers as per form that has been sent through to you already and that you have let us know. I'll go to the agenda to let you know what's in the en bloc. Item 15.1.1 is the accounts payable, will be in the en bloc. Item 15.1.2 is the statement of financial activity, that will be in the en bloc. Item 15.4.7 is the change of use for a holiday home on Home Street. And item 15.4.10 is the additional requirements for a historic road closure at KCGM Fimiston South project. Councillors, they will be your en bloc for tonight, just the 4 items. Everything else will be pulled. Do I have a mover for the en bloc? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Seconder, Councillor Viskovich. No dissent, councillors. The en bloc carried 8-0 for those items. Which takes us through to 15.1.3, the mid-year review of the annual budget 24-25. We have an officer recommendation. Do we have a mover for the officer recommendation for the mid-years? Moved, Councillor Bodica. Seconder? Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Boddicker, you wish to speak? No? Councillor O'Donnell, wish to speak? Councillors, any discussion? No dissent? Carried 8-0. Item 15.1.4, the 2025-2026 budget development timetable. The officer recommendation is as presented. Councillors, do we have anyone to move that particular recommendation? Moved Councillor Viskovich, seconded Councillor Turner. Councillor Viskovich, wish to speak? No. Councillor Turner? Yes, you wish to speak as the seconder. Go ahead.
Just through the Mayor, just want to thank the officer. I think there was a question we asked last week about getting some things into some dates into sequential order, and which that's been addressed. So thank them for that.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Any discussion, councillors? No discussion, no dissent? Carried 8-0. Item 15.1.5, new provisions for superannuation payments to councillors. Councillors, you have an officer recommendation. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Move Councillor Viskovich, seconder. Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Viskovich, wish to speak? No. Councillor O'Donnell, wish to speak? Councillors, any discussion? Councillor Winner, wish to speak for or against? Against. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be supporting this motion tonight, as I don't believe councillors should qualify for this. We are not city employees, we're elected representatives of the community. And while I understand and acknowledge reimbursements payments for time or for IT or the like, I don't believe super should be paid to councillors. I recognise that this recommendation is to request the CEO to bring a report to council on the payment of superannuation. However, we have much larger areas that I would rather staff have their time applied to, and would much rather wait until super payments become a mandated state government payment before looking into this further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker for? Speaker against? Councillor Turner?
Yes, I'll also be voting against this motion. I'm in full agreement with Councillor Winner. I don't think the report is actually necessary at the moment. I think we've got a lot on, and council officers' work would be spent in other areas, and that given that this perhaps will become a legislation through the Reforms to the Local Government Act, I don't think it's actually an issue until it does become that they want it to happen. And I also believe that we will have some choice whether we want to opt out of that ourselves.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Before the mover has the right of reply, I'll just bring your attention, councillors. The officer recommendation is that council request the CEO to bring a report to council at our next meeting with a recommendation on payment of superannuation contributions to council members. So just to be clear, the councillors are voting against getting a report on the report. And also at the same time, as of the October election, it'll be mandatory for the city to be paying superannuation for elected members, which you alluded to, Councillor Turner. However, to not receive that, you have to opt out by writing to the CEO to say you opt out. So just wanted to be pretty clear on that. Mover has the right of reply. Councillor Viskovich? No. Thank you. As there has been dissent to this particular item, I will call for a vote. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Thank you. Those against? 2. 6-2 carries the absolute majority, Mr. CEO. Yep, so the item is carried. Item 15.1.6, conduct of local government election. Councillors, do we have a mover for that 15.1.6? Also requiring an absolute majority. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? Councillor O'Donnell, wish to speak? No. Any discussion, councillors? No. Any dissent? No. I'll take that carried 8-0. (15.1.7). Councillors, the officer recommendation drafted did not have any councillors in attendance. However, the officer recommendation has been updated to include, I think, live typing. Councillor Viskovich and Councillor Turner. The officer recommendation will be to endorse the attendance of both of those councillors to the local government assembly in late June Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Oh, Councillor O'Donnell? You want a question? I know what your question's going to be. How about we get a mover and a seconder first before we get to it? Moving it, thank you, Councillor Bodica. Seconder, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Bodica, sorry, now that we've got it on the table, Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Please use the mic.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Is that closed, done and dusted, the two?
Would you like to move an alternative?
Yes, I would.
Yes, go ahead. What's your alternative?
That endorse the attendance of Councillors Viskovich, Councillor Turner, Councillor O'Donnell at the National General Assembly of Local Government and Australian
So you'd
Council.
like to add yourself to go to Canberra?
Yes.
Does the mover accept that? Yes. Does the seconder accept that? Yes. Okay, that's now the alternative recommendation, or amended recommendation, I should say, that it's now Viskovich, Turner and O'Donnell. The mover and the seconder both agree. Speaker for, speaker against, speaker for. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to thank the councillors that have put their hand up to attend this conference. The National General Assembly is important for council to attend. There's a number of meetings and there's so much information to take in. Councillors who attended last year found that we were stretched between meetings, so I think it's really important that we have a big enough delegation over in Canberra to meet the number of meetings that we need to attend during those couple of days. So I commend Councillor Turner, Viskovich and O'Donnell for taking the time out of not only their own personal jobs that they hold in the city, but also away from their family. So I thank them and commend them for stepping forward for this role.
Thank you, Councillor Deputy Mayor. Speaker against, speaker for, speaker against, speaker for. Before the mover has the right of reply, I can now bring up this document. The CEO and I will probably be pretty busy in Canberra. We've attracted some attention over there, which is fantastic to see, but we obviously need strength in numbers. Just last week we had several meetings while we were in Canberra where the CEO attended either one and I attended the other. So now that we've got flexibility in numbers, I think that that's obviously great. My attendance at the ALGA conference probably won't be as impactful as what it has been previously due to the stronger role that we're playing in advocacy. Can I also commend our staff on this particular document, which now forms a great partnership for any of the governments to look at, and obviously we're going to have potential changes in at a state and also at a federal level. But just to highlight exactly what it is that this council is working on. We've copped a fair bit of criticism for that we're not working with the community, in the community, for the community in recent times. Absolute rubbish and unfair. Community development, we are working on $50 million for social and affordable housing. We're working on $20 million for First Nations short stay accommodation. We're working on $12 million for sobering up and rehabilitation facilities. We have a 3-year commitment for community safety and crime prevention. $1 million for emergency preparation. From an economic development point of view, our redevelopment of the airport, we've earmarked for $100 million. Strategic road development, $20 million. A rail realignment project, which is in its infancy at the moment with a business case plan, $170 million. And the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Water Bank project, one of our most crucial pieces of infrastructure that this city has to put itself into, $92 million. And we're banging on doors in Canberra just to get the message across. $86.1 million culture and placemaking for precinct development planning, for 101 Brookman Street, for a multi-purpose community pavilion at the Goldfields Arts Centre, $44 million for the Goldfields Oasis and a rec centre outdoor pool, and $19.5 million sports lighting and community facility upgrade. These are social, economical and livability factors and priorities for this city moving forward. We're going to go longer than this particular meeting tonight, and councillors, I can't be any prouder than to present this in Canberra and also at a state government level as well. You should all take a copy tonight. I've got a copy for you. Sorry, I went off track. Mover has the right of reply. Councillor Bodica.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what the Deputy Mayor said and thank Councillor Viskovich, Councillor Turner and Councillor O'Donnell for representing the city in Canberra. You know, it's a really worthwhile cause and something that we can get, you know, relevant, important information back. So just thanks a lot for that and also for taking their own time out.
Thank you. There's no dissent, councillors. Carried 8-0. Item 15.18, Local Government Act Reform Consultation on CEO KPIs and Online Registers. Councillors, we have a officer recommendation for 15.18. Mover for that officer recommendation. No. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconder, Councillor Turner. Deputy Mayor, you wish to speak? No. Councillor Turner, you wish to speak? No. Councillors, any dissent to this item? No. Carried 8-0. Item 15.2.1, under 15.2.1, under engineering, request for tender 001 2425 Oasis Outdoor Pool Design. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Deputy Mayor, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Turner. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the Director of Engineering and the recommendation in the officer's recommendation to reject the tenders and to bring this back for, I suppose, a tighter scope and give the project a better direction moving forward. So I'd like to thank the officers for noting that the variations within this tender were substantial and we needed to understand the scope a lot better to move forward on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Turner.
Yes, through the Mayor, I'd also like to thank the Director of Engineering for identifying the deficiencies in the tenders that we received. Whilst this project, I believe, is a very important project, especially one we've waited a long time for, and I think when the Oasis was built, there was always plans for some type of outdoor pool there, and that hasn't happened. I would like to acknowledge the federal government and that they have provided significant funding for the outdoor pool. However, I'd also like to once again thank our director that we're not reactive to because we've received funding. Because just because we receive funding, we know that that won't cover the whole project, and the balance of it will be on ratepayers. Recently, we've, if anyone follows media reports, over in New South Wales and Sydney, there is a local government within Sydney that has increased rates by well in excess of 100, like extremely high, purely because they reacted to receiving funding, jumped in, put work in for a very good project. They just don't have the money for it. So we've got to stop being reactive because we receive money from great sources and make sure that we're fully prepared and our budgets are fully able to cover this. So I'm fully supportive for rejecting things and taking them back to the table when they need to be.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'll be supporting this motion as while we need and want action on this matter, we also need to be ensuring it's done the right way. I've always been a big believer of measuring twice and cutting once, so I would much rather see this project delayed slightly to ensure we are not hit with future cost increases on what is being tendered and eventually approved by addressing the concerns now, by getting the documents right and therefore getting the projects right. I'm hopeful that the improved documentation around this tender will see a significantly improved rating being achieved across all tenderers and hope this delay is only a small bump in what will be a fantastic project for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, pick up our document that we've just endorsed. And while $8 million and a contribution from the state as well has been recognised, don't forget, councillors, that the full redevelopment of the whole process for a 50-metre outdoor lagoon pool has to include landscaping and various other internal and external changes as well. And while we might appreciate having some funding to that, we do need assistance a lot more for our community. Mover has the right of reply. Deputy Mayor. No dissent, councillors. Carried 8-0. Item 15.3.1 is the fee waiver request to MT Dance. Councillors, I haven't received names for the officer recommendation, so therefore I can't move the recommendation without receiving councillors who wish to support a revoke of the council decision below. So if there are 3 councillors, Councillor Winner, Councillor Bodica, Councillor Turner. Yep, go ahead, Councillor Turner. Wish to raise a
If you
question?
could just explain probably to the people in the gallery and the press that are here exactly what happened then, because they may not understand what we had to do.
Happy to do that. The recommendation under, as per on the screen, for us to make a decision this evening, we are required to revoke the original council decision which was made at the 25th of March 2024. So what we've sought so far is to have councillors added into that particular decision to revoke that. So Councillor Bodica, Councillor Winner and Councillor Turner. Once we have 3 councillors, we're able to revoke that particular item. By then having that revocation, we're able then to talk about what can move forward. So now we have item 1 of the officer recommendation, which we will now debate, which is to revoke that previous decision. Mr. CEO, I might need your guidance here, but just correct me if I'm wrong. Once we revoke that decision, we will then need another recommendation to enact points 3, 4 and 5. Councillors, so we've got a split recommendation at the moment. Councillors, we'll be just debating item 1 and 2 under this first piece. The details around item 3, 4 and 5 will be debated after we debate the first. Councillors, we're all clear? Yep. We're only debating the revocation. Do I have a mover for the revocation, which includes Councillor Bodica, Winner and Turner? Councillor Johnson. Second, Councillor Viskovich. Go ahead, Councillor Johnson. Wish to speak? No. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? No. Just make a note. I love the tricky ones. Is there a speaker against the motion to revoke? Go ahead, Councillor Winner, question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, through the Mayor to the CEO, wanted to confirm that by revoking this motion, there is no risk that the approved discount that was initially identified in the original motion would be lost. Therefore, potentially a backdating fee might be applied.
So we're wiping the particular motion, Mr. CEO. That's your question, yep.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. Revoking the decision that's there, having already been enacted, we could still actually leave that component of it. We're revoking it now, so there's a slight risk, but very, very minimal, depending on what Council's final decision is in relation to 3, 4 and 5. But the existing decision, because it has been enacted and advised, would continue to apply.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Any discussion, councillors, on the revocation? No? No dissent? Carried 8-0. Right. Now, councillors, we have the officer recommendation to take in points 3, 4 and 5. And just to be clear for those who may need just a little bit of an update, this is now the live recommendation, which we are debating. Point 3, authorise the CEO to apply the discounted hire venue rate of $6,116.16, including GST, per month until the 30th of June 2024. Point 4 notes that the CEO will undertake a review of all fees and charges as part of the development of the 25-26 schedule of fees and charges. And point 5 notes that the schedule of fees and charges will apply to MT Dance from the 1st of July 2025. June 25. Oh, my apologies. So I apologise here. Sorry, point 3 is 2025. It's right on the screen. It wasn't written right on the written version. Mover for that. Question. Oh, yeah, you can ask a question once we get it on the table. Mover for that. Thank you, Councillor Winner. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Move, Councillor Winner. Seconded, Councillor O'Donnell. Just before you get into debate, councillors, I've indicated that Councillor Turner's got a question. Councillor Turner.
So just through the Mayor, my question was if we needed another line on that officer's recommendation, and that's purely, I hadn't thought of this before, but it was when the members of the public addressed us, that this says to June 2025. I'm just wondering if we need another line in there that says when we do our schedule of fees and charges, that we look at having a separate line item there for users of the Arts Centre that are niche users from the arts industry, because that venue
Thank
is
you.
a
I've
bit
got your
different.
question. Thank you,
Yeah.
Councillor Turner. I think it's covered under point 4. The CEO will undertake a review of all fees and charges as part of the development. So that covers everything as well. Yeah. But noting that, I'm sure the CEO will absorb that information. Thank you. Councillor Winner, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Put plainly and simply, as outlined in the report, this was a mistake. While the fee itself may have been correct on paper, how it was applied and the information provided to the applicant in good faith was wrong, resulting in the position we are all in now. In a bid to provide greater equality in the system and how fees and charges are being developed and applied, a mistake was made, which this motion aims to correct tonight. Our officers have identified this in the report, and I'm sorry that this has occurred. I, as I know my other fellow councillors are, am a big supporter of engagement activities for our community that contribute towards improving our quality of life, regardless of whether they are council-delivered, private business delivered, or not-for-profit delivered. I would ask my fellow councillors to support this motion tonight to allow for an error correction to take place and look forward to the learnings and continuous improvement opportunities identified through this process to be applied moving forward. It is worth noting that fees, while there was concerns raised around fees are reviewed in line with all our fees and charges being assessed for the new financial year, as per our previously adopted tonight motion to assess our budget review timetable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Second is Councillor O'Donnell. Go ahead, Councillor O'Donnell. Nothing. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Turner?
Just through the Mayor, I'll also be supporting this motion. I'm going to be very honest with the members of the public that are here in the gallery. I was torn over this. So whilst...
Sorry, point of order, Councillor. You need to be honest with your councillors.
Okay, councillors, I was torn over this, so for everyone in the room. Whilst I want to be supportive of having the Arts Centre activated, and I do believe it's a space for members of the arts community, I was also mindful that we have other operators within the city that have their own premises that they have purchased and that they pay rates. So in effect, those ratepayers are now subsidising, because of this mistake, let's say we could call it a rival business. However, when is a business and when is it a service delivery provider, which Councillor Winner so eloquently highlighted? This is a dance school, and whilst it might be operated as a business, I don't think it would have huge margins. They're providing a service to 300 plus people that attend it, and that's really important. If we lose these kind of organisations and operations within our city, it very much affects the livability of the city. So it was an error by our staff, and the business should not have to wear that cost. And then I'm very keen to have these reviewed so it's fair and equitable for not just the users of the Arts Centre, but for also, we try and strike a balance when we get to our fees and charges.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Bodica.
Yeah, I'm going to be supporting this motion too, because, you know, as Councillor Winner has alluded to, it was a mistake. It was an error that we, as the council, made. And I think that we wouldn't want to compromise a business whereby 300 children and, you know, their families are actually, you know, getting a great service. So I'm, you know, sort of, it's a shame that it happened, but in moving forward, you know, sort of, we've acknowledged it, and I just think that it, you know, I think it'd be really good to see councillors support it if you could, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Johnson?
It's amazing. As a city, we have a motto, live, work and play, and that's what we should be doing. There's a fear that we could become a FIFO town, and I think having a group like MT and other facilities in this city are important. And by supporting this tonight, we're actually catering for 300 students, 200 families, and it's making a great place for people to move to, and actually bricks and mortar. So not only does this have an effect on a dance school, but it also has effect on our community, and it's a draw card as well. I compliment the dance school and all those other dance schools that are within our city boundaries, that they perform sometimes no costs at all in city events. They feature in events that we ask them to feature in. They educate via where the kids can get skills, and those skills can get them around the world. And I speak for myself here, where my girls were able to dance in the Edinburgh Military Tattoo because they took Highland dancing. So it leaves from Kalgoorlie, can go around the world. So I support this, and moving forward, I hope that when the review happens, that we do have a really good look at how we can support businesses as they are, but as Councillor Turner said, the niche in that business area is supporting our community. And I think that's a big one. We just don't want to pocket or place people in a category called fee and charge. We need to be able to be very flexible in there on what they give back to our communities. So I urge everyone to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too will be supporting this motion. I believe in activating and promoting our civic spaces is vitally important. I do hope that in our review of fees and charges that we can offer a monthly or quarterly rate as discussed at the agenda briefing, potentially offering a more suitable rate that can support small businesses to really activate the spaces that we have, and let's hope to keep our city's facilities thriving and accessible for all.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Speaker against? Speaker for? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd also like to speak for this motion and support it. I'd also like to make note that MT Dance don't have exclusive use, as many others would maybe assume in the community. MT Dance move out at various times during the year, and they are for the WA Ballet, for example, and Diggers and Dealers and other dance users, also Eastern Goldfields Community High. So I do believe that a non-exclusive use deserves a non-exclusive use fees and charges schedule, and I too look forward to working through the future fees and charges so that all users are given the same capacity and sharing of, I suppose, the ability to enact those fees and charges as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Johnson, just get you to turn your microphone off for us, please, just in case you sneeze or cough. Before the mover has the right of reply, just a couple of things. I was pretty vague in my responses to the questions this evening, as they'd be picked up, no doubt, during the evening, so hopefully we're able to answer some of those questions that were asked. This one is, obviously this has come to Council for a resolution because Council were involved in the initial stages. More than likely, or 99.99% of the time, staff are able to take this particular feedback and be able to work around issues with their delegated authority, due to the fact that, as we brought a revocation motion this evening, Council has had to take that leadership, and can I thank the councillors for the ownership and the accountability of that this evening. This obviously does also highlight some nuances within our schedules of fees and charges, which the CEO is quite acutely aware of now regarding financial year versus calendar year, and the differences that we do face. Many organisations, schools, dance studios do face calendar year charges and fees, whereas others are picked up through a financial piece as well. So obviously there's been a little bit that's been put tonight, and councillors, I'll support the officer recommendation. The mover is Councillor Winner, and Councillor Winner, you have the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll keep this one brief. I'd just like to thank my fellow councillors for their words on this matter, and I'd also like to acknowledge Councillor Turner's concerns that she raised, as I also had them. But for me, what tipped me over the edge was this item is about doing what's right, and I think this motion does that. It's important for us as a council to continue to explore ways to keep people in our community, to keep people wanting to come to our community, and which enhances the fabric of what our community is all about. I thank the officers for their transparency in their report to identify, acknowledge, own the mistake, and provide an outcome which is positive moving forward. I know there will be significant discussions around fees and charges moving forward and how to strike the right balance between sustainability and activation, and I welcome it. So again, I encourage all councillors to support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillors, there was no dissent to that item, so therefore I carry it 8-0. Item 15.4.1, proposed amendment to local planning scheme number 2, lot 4565 Broadwood Street in Broadwood. Councillors, we had a previous item on the table for this. Stand by. The officer recommendation was moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Brownlee, with an alternative motion from Councillor Winner and Councillor Johnson, moved by Councillor Winner, seconded by Councillor Johnson, that the item is adjourned to the February ordinary council meeting. Councillors, as we will return to debate, there was no members having spoken yet on the item. The officer recommendation remains for 15.4.1, and that is supported by Councillor O'Donnell. Mr. CEO, question for you. It was seconded by Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Brownlee's not here this evening. Does that matter? No. Okay, no worries. So it's still on the table. Councillors, I'll pick it up as a speaker against the officer recommendation. Question, Councillor Winner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in line with your question around Councillor Brownlee, would that affect the vote given Councillor Brownlee was seconding the item?
No. It'll be judged on who's in the room at the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The officer recommendation. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Turner.
Yes, okay, through the Mayor, I just would like to speak in favour of the officer recommendation. I think the officer recommendation is very, very clear here. It's a prohibited use of the area. So I would say I'd like to highlight number 6, the proposal is inconsistent with orderly and proper planning of the area. I must be very mindful here that there are other users in this area that have purchased property there based on the zoning, and that it would be, I believe it's very unfair to change the zoning. I don't believe there is a need to change the zoning. There is adequate parcels of land around the city that are available for a developer or a purchaser to go and purchase and then investigate for workforce accommodation that are zoned for that. Workforce accommodation is a contentious issue in our city. There is no way I would support a proposal to change planning and zoning unless we were crying out in need and we did not have other accommodation that could provide for that use, and that there was a severe lack of it, which from reports and numbers that we've had from previously given to council, I don't believe there is a lack of workforce accommodation available that would necessitate a change in this zoning.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against the officer recommendation? Speaker for the officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I respect and appreciate the additional information provided to Council on this matter and the additional time provided to consider said information thoroughly, it is my intent to support the officer's recommendation tonight and to not adopt the requested amendment to the city's local planning scheme. I don't believe the request is consistent with the intent and direction of the area and surrounding areas, and I feel that there are more than adequate land options and zones available to meet development requests of this nature. As outlined by the city officer at last week's agenda briefing session, council has informed the applicant that they were aware of the zoning changes under LTPS 2 throughout the lengthy development stage of the scheme and was aware what a development of this nature would not be permitted in this zone. LTPS 2 took a considerable amount of time, consultation and consideration to reach where it did, and I do not feel there is enough reason to consider an amendment to such scheme and to the listed zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? The mover has the right of reply, which is Councillor O'Donnell. Just before the mover does, he doesn't want to have his speak. Just before the vote, councillors, I will note, just for the minute-taking purposes, that Councillor Brownlee was not present at this particular meeting on the 17th of Feb 2025. There's no dissent to that, councillors. Carried 8-0. Item 15.4.2, the Red Dust Revival sponsorship. Debate on this matter was adjourned at our last ordinary council meeting. Councillor Winner being the only member who's spoken, he can't come back to speak on this matter. It was moved by Councillor O'Donnell, again seconded by Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Johnson moved the motion to hold to the next meeting, and that was seconded by the Deputy Mayor. As Councillor Winner has spoken on the item, I think he might have spoken in favour of the motion at the last one. I'll pick debate up with somebody speaking against, if somebody wants to speak against. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Turner.
Through the Mayor, I'd just like to speak in favour of the officer's recommendation. When the first Red Dust Revival was held, it was a fantastic event. We had participants that came from all over the world, and then the resulting media and PR that we had was fantastic. There was documentaries filmed, there was actually a short film filmed, and the PR exposure that it gave our city and the positive light it shone at Kalgoorlie-Boulder in as a destination that you could have something like this held, and also attracted people to visit the area was fantastic. I think it's a very good use of council funds to be supportive of somebody else putting an event on that we don't have to actually be the drivers of. So it was very professionally done, and I urge our fellow councillors to support the event.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Just also noting I've got an impartiality interest in the matter as well. And for those councillors who had the concerns, in the original report that was presented to council, the charitable purpose was identified as the Goldfields Children's Charity. It's actually Variety, the children's charity. So there was an error in the original report. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? The mover was Councillor O'Donnell, who has the right of reply not taken. There's no dissent to that, councillors. And just before I put the vote, also noting that the seconder for the original motion isn't present tonight. No dissent, councillors, carried 8-0. Item 15.4.3, Local Heritage Fund, 127 Burt Street in Boulder. At the 28th of October, our ordinary council meeting, council resolved to bring the item to a council workshop with presentation from the applicant. So let me catch up to tonight, councillors, apologies. Just jumping all over here. Further consultation was undertaken at a council workshop. There has been template and format changes to report structures since the 28th of October ordinary council meeting, which is not shown within the report. Now, I don't have the original mover of the motion present. Do we have that information from the 28th of October minutes, please, governance? Apologies, councillors. I wasn't prepared for this one. Moved O'Donnell and seconded Brownlee as well, this one too. Okay. Okay, the original motion was moved by Councillor O'Donnell on the Local Heritage Fund and seconded by Councillor Brownlee. I think then we might have entered into the procedural under Councillor Winner, if that was correct. Just for transparency purposes. Winner, seconded by Deputy Mayor? Councillor Bodicar. Sorry, Councillor Bodicar. Excellent. Okay, was it no debate? There was no debate conducted? No debate. Okay, so everyone is free to discuss. Apologies, councillors. O'Donnell and Brownlee, so O'Donnell and Brownlee can't discuss. I'll pick the item up with Speaker against the motion. Thank you, Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'm actually going to speak and vote against this motion at this point in time, as I don't think that what is being proposed will go anywhere near what is actually needed to address the required repairs, with the actual cost anticipated to be well over $100,000.
Sorry, Councillor Winner, just to hold you up at this point in time, the foreshadowed motion was actually lost to... Sorry, Mr. CEO, just a clarification, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The original motion that was put back in October was, as is listed as the officer's recommendation there, that was lost 2-7. There was then a foreshadowed motion which was to have the workshop. So at this stage we don't have a mover and a seconder for the motion.
Okay, so we have an officer, so we just need to move the officer recommendation. Is that right, Mr. CEO? Or something different. Do we have a mover of a motion or the officer recommendation or something different? Councillor Turner to move the officer recommendation? No? Something different. Okay, let's go. Let's
So,
think on our feet.
Just a question,
Yep,
thinking
go
on
ahead.
our feet, because I'm of the same opinion of Councillor Winner, and I'm thinking wants to vote against the motion because he'd like to give them more funds because this is just inadequate. But I can't pick his brains, but that's how I'm thinking. So I would like some other motion of where we can perhaps assist them in giving them more funds or returning it to something else, because I think Councillor Winner's understanding is the same as mine. If we move this motion and we give them $5,000, it then negates that they can't get any money from any other funds, and that's what we're worried about, I think.
Sure. I'm not sure if Councillor Winner can get inside your head to answer that, but
I think he knows
I think Councillor Winner's looking for an alternate motion at the same time as well. There's a nod of heads. Would you like to move an adjournment of the meeting to discuss?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move an adjournment to the meeting. Between procedural, or can I just call that, Mr. CEO? I'll call an adjournment to our ordinary council meeting at 8:06 p.m. With a reconvened time of 8:15 p.m. at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall on the 17th of January 2025. Councillors, that will give you 9 minutes, maybe even 8 now, to come up with an alternative recommendation. Council meeting is adjourned.